Yo, what's up? Welcome to the live. This is Coach Renz, and today we're going to talk about how Garden of Eden is a copy of other books, but all these books have a popular theme, and that theme is immortality of man. Okay, Facebook is trying to act up over here on this live. Let's talk about the immortality of man and this repetitive theme in this book, these books, ancient books. Everybody wants to live forever. We're going to give some people a little bit of time to get on YouTube and Facebook. Facebook is acting up. Let's check the internet on Facebook. That's why Facebook is acting up. Gotcha, Facebook. There we go, Facebook. Facebook was acting up, and now we got Facebook on tap. So we're going to talk about, for a little while here, maybe an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, we're going to discuss, and I invite your commentary, or even if you want to, you got something to say. But we are going to talk about immortality. Yo, I'm Coach Renz. I'm the owner of Smoking Phoenix Cigar Lounge. That's where I'm at right now, in my cigar lounge. That's why I shoot all my videos mostly. I left that light on in the back. I need to turn off. But so, me smoking a cigar bothers you? Okay. But I own a cigar lounge, so of course I'm smoking a cigar. And turn that a little bit. What we do on this channel is that, for the most part, this is a channel that's dedicated to the deconstruction of this is to people who have decided to deconstruct from religion prior to meeting me. This channel was originally created for my children so that they would always have my knowledge, my information, and be able to utilize and come to their own understandings, to which they have because they're adults, and they continue to. But it is also for people who have decided that they are deconstructing from religion. And part of deconstructing is going through the emotional change of walking away and emptying your cup, but also the loss of friends, loss of family, and in some situations, the loss of spouses, the loss of jobs, and things of that nature. I am just here to help. But I am also here to help people develop their own pathway, And the only way that you can do that is to understand how to break down and get rid of how to break down and refocus, look at differently through a different lens, all the different information that you've been taught all your life, all the different doctrines that have become part of who you are, and to see them from a different perspective. This is why most of the information that I talk about, it is either facts or is theories backed by a tremendous amount of evidence. I don't do the I believes and my heart or my experience is validation of any deity or spirituality. My experience is just validation of how I felt about something, my perspective on something. That's my experience. Okay, if I don't turn off that light back there, it's going to drive me insane. So give me 1 second, turn off that light. We're going to be right back on it. All right. Just make sure I lock the front door because it's not time to open up yet. Okay, all right. I see a lot of familiar faces on Facebook. How y'all doing? Grand Rising. And there we go, Willie and Teresa and others on, I can only see the two names who said something on YouTube. And we're also streaming live on TikTok. So if you looked at the title on either broadcast, you see that it says something in effect about immortality, that the Garden of Eden story is about immortality. And that was a popular theme in ancient times. And the theme is such that man desired to have immortality. And most people, not all, most people still to this day, if given the option, would take a certain type of immortality. Last night, I couldn't go to sleep, so I was watching this show called Sandman. My lady put me on it. So I'm watching this show, Sandman. I think it was episode 6 that I was watching. It was either because episode 5 was that. So it was episode 6. Episode 5 actually is a whole nother concept of discussion about if everybody was completely honest. That's a whole nother discussion, but we're not going to have that one today. But episode 6 was about him learning about death from his sister Death and how she does her job. But then it was overlapped with this where it was a guy that they had given immortality to, and every 100 years they would meet in this tavern. Most of the times that they met, the guy lived a great 100 years, right? It was only one time in the 100 years in their meetup that the guy was like, this is like, he struggled, but still desired immortality. And I think that guy's perspective on life is why he enjoyed immortality. I, for one, if I can be at 30 years old, body-wise, would enjoy the shit out of immortality. I would, if given the option, and it's a fair deal, because you got to throw that in there for the people like, oh, you'll sell your soul. I would take immortality. So it's understandable that people back in the day, ancient people, had a desire. How you doing, Sheila? Had a desire for immortality. But of course, immortality wasn't achieved. But there have always been pursuits of immortality, where we're talking about Ponce de Leon searching for the fountain of youth. We touched on it yesterday when I was explaining alchemy and the philosopher's stone. A part of the process of the philosopher's stone is to create a substance that then, when ingested, it revitalizes your body. It doesn't grant you immortality, but it revitalizes your body back to like age 30. So somewhere in that range that lets you live even longer. So we touched on that yesterday. Man has been preoccupied with immortality. There was a movie, Timeless, and y'all, I'm telling y'all, if I was religious, I would say that I would swear on a stack of Bibles. I had the idea for that very movie, Timeless, about 4, 5, 6 years before it even went into production. Like, I had that idea, and somebody else could have had that same idea at the same time, because we all just pulling from the ether. But I had that idea, except the clock wasn't on your arm. The clock was like above your head, so everybody could see your clock. So I guess on your arm is better. But I had the same idea that our society had collapsed into those who had time, a lot of time, and those who had minimal time, and that distinguished the rich and the poor, the privileged and the non-privileged. But I had the same idea. But that one, one of the things, but man realizes that in his pursuit of immortality, that most of the time man fails. He fails to achieve immortality. Death comes for us all. We all are going to leave this planet, is what's going to happen. There are a few stories of people like Saint Germain, who supposedly achieved the Philosopher's Stone and lived for centuries, and could possibly, if true, could be still living today, barring accidents and things of that nature. But we've always searched for immortality, but we know we've always lost it. So we had to explain death. How did death come about? Now, in the story of the Garden of Eden, most people know it. And I did a video recently where I talked about how the Yahweh lied, and then the serpent is the one who actually told the truth. Just to recap that really quick, for those who may not know, I know most of my people on here, they know the story, so, and they saw the video. But just as a quick recap for those who didn't see that video, basically, the Yahweh character told man that Adam, that he would die in the day that he eat, and Biyom. It's a B with a little thing, and Y-O-M-B, so it's Biyom. Said that he would die in the day that he ate from the fruit. Told Eve, even though it never tells us that he told Eve, we assume that he told Eve because Eve knew about it. The serpent tells her, nope, eating from the tree of good and evil, eyes will be awakened, and you would know good and evil, and be like God, not God, but like God. In the having the knowledge of good and evil. They ate from the tree, they didn't die that day. So Yahweh lied. It's the basic thing. People try to say, oh, in Peter, where it says one day unto God is like, not is like 1,000 years to man. They fail to understand that Biyom means a 24-hour day. And a 24-hour day, Adam and Eve existed in the sun and the moon. The 24-hour cycle was established before the sun and moon. Then the sun and the moon were in existence. So the 24 hours, Biyom means 24-hour day. It's no way around that. It is also used in Exodus 21, the term Biyom, and where a person dies in that, where it happens in that day. Now, when you also look at when this deity is saying when they're saying what they're saying in First Peter, they're basically saying Yahweh is outside of time and space, so therefore time doesn't exist for Yahweh. It wasn't saying one day is 1,000 years and you should use that mathematically. It's just saying he's outside of time and space. So that dude lied. But the next part of the story is Yahweh saying, hey, look him. We must remove man from the Garden of Eden, because now that he's become like one of us, he cannot allow him to eat from the tree of life. Cannot allow man to eat from the tree of life. Now, I think I did a video. I just commented on somebody, on a person who was saying man was made to live forever, but that's not true. Man, according to Christianity, Judaism, the Abrahamics, the body wasn't built to live forever, i.e., tree of life in the garden for man to consume. Without the tree of life in the garden, Adam and Eve would have died anyway. They still would have died. What is 900 something years later, still death would come for them if not for the tree of life. So therefore, man is not built to live forever, and man must be able to consume something in order to expand his life. Hence, this constantly on looking for the water. There's somebody else, I think it's Cortez or somebody like that, who was looking for a certain tree, looking for the tree of life in Mexico, Guatemala, all those places. So that's not, man must consume something. The story of Adam and Eve, part of it is an explanation as to man losing his opportunity for immortality. It's not original, though. Therein lies the rub. It's not an original story. When we look at the Epic of Gilgamesh, oh, I see people writing stuff, sorry. Thank you for the stars, Margaret. I get it, man. I question everything. I have read everything you read, and I'm not afraid to question why the Old Testament is full of atrocities, why create certain people to be doomed to genocide. Yep, it doesn't make sense to create people just to know you're going to genocide them. However, unique salvation in the story of Christ, as if the real God wanted to experience firsthand There is, however, a unique salvation in the story of Christ, as if the real God wanted to experience firsthand the travels of man. If the real God is the real God, then the real God has already experienced everything. There cannot be something outside of the real God when you put it like that. See, that God wanted to experience what it was like to be man would make that deity not God. The all can never not be something. The all would already know and everything, experience everything. There's nothing new for the all to learn. So therefore, Christ, as you put it, cannot be God. And the salvation is within yourself, my guy. But yeah, so the all cannot look to experience something. Then that would mean there is something outside of the all. There cannot be something outside of the all. Then that would invalue the all, invalidate the all. It wouldn't be the all then. So if it's not the all, it's just another being. Oh. Plus, if the root of the tree is spoiled, the whole goddamn tree is spoiled. You might have some good fruit here and there, and that's it. But the tree still dies. So, Epic of Gilgamesh. I don't know if you guys have read the Epic of Gilgamesh. There are many different stories, and a lot of the stories in the Epic of Gilgamesh you'll find inside your Bible. So after Gilgamesh has a 6-day sexual rump fest with this other deity or being, he goes off and he wants to find out how can he live forever. So he goes to the edge of the earth and finds Utnapishtim. Utnapishtim was granted immortality after surviving the flood. But notice he had to live on the outside of society. Notice Eden is separated from society. So the person with immortality or with the secret knowledge of immortality has to live on the outside. So he goes out, finds Utnapishtim. Utnapishtim tells him that if he wants immortality, he has to find this certain plant and eat the plant. So he goes off, he finds the plant. But for some reason, he doesn't consume the plant immediately, which if I found the plant of immortality, I'm not going to say, like if I found the plant of immortality and it was right there, you know, that bush that's right outside my window, well, by the street, I'm not going to say, oh, let me go pick from the bush. Let me drive home. Let me take a shower. Let me, rest up and everything, make it a whole festive event. No, eat the damn thing right there. But for some reason, Gilgamesh decides, I'll just, go start heading back. And when he stopped in a lake to take a bath, a serpent comes up and steals the plant. And therefore he loses his opportunity for immortality. Right. And that was a common thing with Gilgamesh. When he met Ilnana, she was still sad over losing Dumuzi, and she thought that she had immortality in her pum pum. But she kept thinking that all these different beings were Dumuzi come back to life. She would have sex with these men, but they would die the next day. So she tried to do the same thing with Gilgamesh, figuring that he was stronger. He's a demigod. So, he could do it. But he denies her. And we talked about that when we talked about Lilith and where Lilith come from in a video about a year ago. He denies her, and she sends him on his trials. And one of those trials is to destroy the Lalutu tree, which is part of where Lilith comes from. But he initially was interested in her because she thought she had immortality in her pum pum. So you have these different stories. And of course, the Gilgamesh story comes long, long, long before your biblical story of obtaining, but then losing immortality. And I'm sure if we search other traditions, you will find where there are other beings or people who went out seeking immortality only to lose it at some point. So once again, we can see that the Bible, the Abrahamic, the Torah, took a theme from somebody else, and it was a popular thing. It's still a popular thing today. One of the reasons why I like that movie Interstellar is because, he gets to be in the future, way up, not 100 years, but he skips out on a whole bunch of life. And he gets to still be there in the future, 80 years later, kind of situation. Movies like the Star Trek sagas, people are living 200 and 300 years. We like those things. We desire those things, and we keep writing about the same thing. I got a question. How many of y'all want to live forever? I'm just curious. How many of y'all would, if you can be healthy, like, I don't know how y'all looked when y'all was 30 or how y'all felt when y'all was 30, but I looked amazing and was, physically, I could jump off something and not hurt myself and not be like, oh, feeling all achy the next day. Kind of like Hot Tub Time. I was Hot Tub Time Machine. Hot Tub Time Machine when they went back and when they fell off the little ski mountain and they was like, oh, I feel good. That was me still at 30. How many of y'all would choose that if you had the opportunity? Now, I'm gonna need y'all to help me out today. We're gonna have to conversate today. All right, because I don't have a whole lot of material prepared. But I'm curious as to who would take the opportunity to live as long as you desire. Put it that way. I ain't gonna say immortal, but as long as you want to live, who would take the opportunity? You want your current mindset? I'm with you. So Taj said that they would choose immortality. They would choose it, but want to have their current mindset, which is a very important thing. I would want to. I got to have my current mindset. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm 30 years old. My mind is sharp. I can still read. I can read. I can research. But I think the hardest thing in this world would be, one thing that made it easy in the Sandman is that the guy starts in like 1389. So you had a large portion of time where changing your identity was as simple as you just deciding that you just disappear and change your identity. It's harder today, and it will become progressively harder to change your identity and keep it a secret. They did get found out one time, and they took care of those people. But changing your identity will be the most difficult thing. It depends on the society. Well, the beauty of it, society is going to change no matter what. I mean, just like in the Sandman episode I was watching, the dude went from 1389 up to 1999, right? Well, up to the present. I don't know when the show is. So it was, I know he wasn't there in 89. So I guess they were showing back up in 99. Yeah. And so he was started in England. He ended up, he stayed in England, but he was in England most of the time. He went from the different eras and of mindset, of philosophy, of societies. He went through the colonization time frame. Well, he was in the Dark Ages. Went through the, dealing with the plagues. Went through colonization. Went through, they had slavery. They came out of that. He went through the world wars, and so he went through different societies, and you would be able to do that. you would do that same thing. You would know how societies change, and then you can pick in today's world, you can travel, pick and choose where you want to live. Actually, that would be the best way to keep changing your identity. Would be you would have to move country to country to country. There's the show, the sitcom show Lucifer. In the second season, I think second season or third season, I think it was second or third season, they introduced the character Cain, and the mark that was placed on Cain granted him immortality. So that was Cain's curse. He became immortal. He lived through all the different centuries, learned, studied, learned, but he was sick of living. He was tired of living. So you'll go through different societies. In the movie The Seventh Seal, they showed, which is a form of Christian mysticism. Supposedly, Peter was the only one in this variation of Christian mysticism that when the soldier pierced Jesus' side, blood came, and the blood and the water came out. Well, the blood got into the soldier's mouth. This soldier named Casca. And there's a book series called Casca. I remember reading it on my way to Desert Storm. That was a great book series. It was a very interesting story. I can actually see that made into a series of movies. But anyway, that soldier supposedly was Jesus' eyes supposedly open, and he told the guy that, you're going to live forever until Jesus comes back, and that he will continuously be a soldier. He will fight in wars and all this kind of thing. And Seventh Seal, the priest who killed the old priest and the one who wants old girl and is going against Demi Moore, that's the Casca guy. So that legend is in Christian mysticism. And it was supposedly Peter was standing on the hillside and he witnessed this. And there's been a sect who's always followed and kept track of Casca. What up, Mark? Yeah, with the choice, I would live forever. Yeah, I would. I would. I would. The only thing I would want, there's two things. The two things, like I said, be 30-year-old body, mine is sharp. But whenever I decide I wanted to die, I want to die. You don't want the earth to explode and your ass is still you just floating around. Like in the Casca series, if he got stabbed, he can pull the thing out. In the show Sandman, when they thought that he was a witch, they threw him under the water, and it took him 40 years to get loose. So he was underwater, experiencing drowning for 40 years. Casca was working in a mine, and he realized if the mine collapsed, he'd have to dig out. Cain threw himself into a volcano thinking that would kill him, and it took him like I think he said it took him like a month or 2 months to get out from the volcano, and he was burning the whole time, So you don't want to be floating in space and then you can't die. You want to be like, oh shit, Earth gone. I'm just floating in space, unless you just want to float in space. I'm like, okay, this is cool. But after a while, you got to hit a planet. You got to get somewhere. You got to have some variations. So, there's a couple more stipulations that I would want to involve in it. But man has consistently desired this. There was one Chinese emperor. I just looked up the whole little thing real quick. I don't know a lot about this dude, but Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China, during 259 BC to 210, was another person who sought immortality, and he was looking for to find the Zufu. No, how do you say that? I don't know how to say that. Oh, under the direction of Zufu, to find the legendary elixir of life. So what does that sound like? Sound like he was trying to do a little alchemy. But he wanted that elixir of life. We know that in the story of Hercules, that Hercules was looking for eternity. He was also searching for immortality. So you have stories prior to the writing of the Christian story of people searching for immortality. We went through Utnapishtim. Utnapishtim is it if you're looking at, I think, from the Akkadian. Zua Sutra is the other name, but still talking about the same thing for the Epic of Gilgamesh. Or if you're looking at the Atrahasis, Zua Sutra and Utnapishtim are interchangeable in those stories, just depending on which one you're looking at. But as I'm scrolling down, there's like a whole list of different people, different cultures who are all looking for immortality. But the main ones that we was talking about was the ones that happened before the 500 BCE when the Christian story was written. And I don't know, did anybody from yesterday go and research Saint Germain, the Count of Saint Germain? Because he supposedly is immortal. Oh, it's your 51 solar return. Happy born day, David. That's what's cool. Raquel said he'll live forever. Who wants to live forever? So for those who purely are looking at this for deconstruction, we just can realize we can take away from this. I told y'all I'm gonna need y'all help today because I did not prepare a lot for this subject matter. For those who are looking to deconstruct from this religion, is easy. You can see that this was a common theme taught by other societies that were impactful to what became the Hebrew society. You know, so the Akkadians, Sumerians, Babylonians, they would have known about the Epic of Gilgamesh and his search for immortality, the using a plant and all that sort of thing, and being denied and then being stolen from them. Oh, you're saying hey to everybody. Okay. Here's a crazy thought. One begs for immortality, gets it granted. But the twist is you still age. Lonely social life looking 1,003. Hell no. If I'm going to age, no. Hell no. Nope. If you're still going to age at the same rate that we age today, do you know how decrepit your body would be at 1,003? I would not, sir. You better make me a clone, put my consciousness into that clone. No. See, yeah, that's a crazy thought, Taj. We're not going to entertain your crazy thought on that one. But I would. The amount of studying that I would be able to do, the amount of archaeological digging, you would have the time to do it all, to play the instruments, to visit every place on the planet, and then revisit them as they change over the centuries. Read all the philosophy, contemplate, and come up with your own philosophy, and whew, it'd be something. And within 1 century, you could be rich if you plan it right. Within 1 century, like, when we talk about finances, I'm like, okay, if you were 22 and you put $1,000 a month into a S&P fund, then by the time you're 60, you got $6 million. You now have the time to do that. Yes. Yeah, Raquel, that's what I was talking about. It's not getting older. You get to stay 30, around 30 years old. and that's it. You stop aging. Kind of, what is it in the movie Timeless? At age 27, they stop aging. But yeah, I mean, you could do that investment. You could, stack that away. Um, like I have a collection of comic books that I started collecting in the late 80s into around the mid 90s. There are coins that you can rare, if you hold on to certain things today, 200, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, it's going to have tremendous value. Like I would look at my comic book collection, like I'm going to hold on to these for 100 years. Do you know the value they will have in 100 years? So you're never going to, you can take a 40-year time frame to ensure that you are financially ready and good to go. So that part will be taken care of. And you can consistently do that. This is my stuff for 200 years from now. So being poor will be your own stupidity. That'd be your own fault. You can go buy a plot of land somewhere and let it sit for 40 years and wait for development to come. So being poor, that would be your own fault. Your body is at the age when you were 30. So keeping it in good shape, you can do that. You got time. You have time. Your mind could be sharp as hell. So I understand why they wrote about immortality and why they desired it so much so. Because I would take it. Literally, I would take it. When I did go to sleep last night after watching that episode of Sandman, I was like, come on, come into my mind. Some being of higher consciousness and show me the pathway for the immortality. Like I'm waiting on this. Instead, I had a mixed bag of craziness in the dream. Like part of the dream, there was this couple, and there was these super buff soccer players, and that's probably because we was watching Frisbee football last night. There's actually a championship league for Frisbee football. Like there's a sport for everything, and they were like super buff, but like comic book super buff. And one of them was black, but it was a transgender woman into a man, but they was a black, but they was Russian. And I was telling somebody, see, tell this joke. And I told, because a lot of people who come to the lounge, I told them when I was in Moscow how many black people I see, and their family has been there for generations. I'm like, yes, there are some black Russians whose family has been there since the 1930s and 1920s and all that sort of thing. So they was in there. I got sent to a group home, but the lady lied to me about what the guy lied to me about what the group home was. Well, he lied to me about coming to the place, didn't tell me it was a group home. It turned out to be a group home. And then when I got there, she tried to make me go to church. And I was like, I'll be damned if I'm going to church. And then me and the guy was supposed to go to some event that has some certain kind of toys. And it wasn't what he thought. And he wanted me to get the people who invited us there to apologize for not having what he thought they was going to have. Yeah, the dream was like a mixed bag of crazy stuff. And then I was in this store, and this one lady who actually, she's a bartender at the bar behind us, Carrie, she was there, and she was a nurse though, and she was trying to show me around, but I didn't want to go where she was going. But then a girl that I went to junior high with, who's still a friend of mine on Facebook, was there with me, and she was trying to grasp me by my arm and, like in a flirty way, trying to guide me to this Walgreens, like the Walgreens like store, and telling me that I should stay at the group home. So yeah, it was all over the place. I went to bed looking for answers to immortality. I did not go to sleep for all that bullshit, all that foolishness that I was having in that dream. We have the time frame from which we collected comic books. Immortality would be cool with the causes you said. Exactly. Yeah, I'm with you, Mars. I'm with you. Oh, did you get the that I forgot what number it is, but it's New Mutants had the first introduction of Deadpool, Domino, and Gideon, because that book is now worth like $1,400, and in some cases you can get about 5,000 for that book. And there's a new Deadpool movie coming out. You know that's going to help it grow some more. And we got Hulk 363. That was worth some money too. But anyway, I don't know the secret you speak of. Grand Rising Felicia, how you doing? Oh, do you know the secret to immortality? No, I don't. Um, I don't know the secret to immortality. Now, according to the Emerald Tablets, there is a process of creating the Philosopher's Stone, um, but it's very convoluted as far as how it's broken down. In the most people wouldn't be able to identify it in the Emerald Tablets, but there was a publication that came out. I'm asking the man in the hat. So there was a publication that came up. Yeah, that came out. Yeah, some people call immortality. I'm sorry, I get distracted. Well, I saw another question that was about what we said earlier. Some people can get. I think reincarnation can only be immortality if you can remember everything. But the fact that we don't remember everything. But I'm sorry. I'm gonna stick to one person question and then at a time. Sorry. Do I know the secret of immortality? Okay, this is the last time I'll be distracted. But I really want to say bye, Felicia, because she says she's on her way to the beach this weekend. You know, I love the well. If you was on my Facebook personal accounts or something like that, you would know I'm a beach goer. Love the beach, love the water. Uh, that's so I'm jealous. Which beach? But do I know the secrets of immortality? There was a publication that came out um, where when it first came out, it was a website. It was a blog site, I think, and there were like hundreds of people on there, and it took from the Emerald Tablets the process of creating the Philosopher's Stone, and there were hundreds of people trying to create it, right? And people were getting various levels of success, but mostly failures. You know, and when I say success, they would get it starts with a liquid, and they would get the liquid boiled down, cool, filtered, boiled down, cool, filtered, boiled down, cool, filtered. Um, and it would boil down and they would get a stone. You know, hundreds of people got a stone, but there was something amiss within the process that it didn't work out. It wasn't the right color or something was off with it. So people were trying this, and then it got to a point after about 3 years, a few people started reporting they made it. They made it and it worked. They made it and it worked. So of course the Philosopher's Stone is supposed to touch other base metals, and those base metals become gold. And then after you used it for that, you consume it, and that grants you it regenerates your body back to like 30 years old. And then all of a sudden, after people start reporting that they achieved it, the site disappeared. Like completely disappeared. It was gone. Right. But although the site disappeared, some people did publish, some people did have the instructions. Right. And by having the instructions, they were able to you're able to find the process of doing it is still out there. There's no board, there's no message board, there's no group who's doing it. Now, some people say that they believe that the government shut them down once it happened. Once people start saying they did it, because people getting to whether a stone is red, that kind of thing. That's one thing, but getting to the actual philosopher's stone, that's a whole other thing. But that book was that it was out there. And Central Coast, California. All right, enjoy. And some people got that publication. Some people still have that publication. Sometimes I do think a dream. I do think dreams are sometimes remembering previous lives. They're echoes. Yeah, you're remembering previous lives. But that book, those instructions, it's about 255 pages of how to create the philosopher's stone, which will grant you some semblance of immortality. Of course, every so 30, 40 years or so, 50 years, you're going to have to make it again in order to consume it again to continue to regenerate your body. So it's kind of like the tree of life. It's as if the philosopher's stone is the tree of life. And if you think about it, the philosopher's stone being an alchemical process to make the tree of life does coincide with the Genesis story. That it's something that they have to eat consistently in order to regenerate their body. But also, when you look at it from the Sumerian story, the tree of life was the scientific know-how that the Anunnaki possessed that allowed the Anunnaki to live forever, to live, hundreds of thousands of years. It wasn't that the Anunnaki lived hundreds of thousands of years naturally on their own. It wasn't that they couldn't die, because Dumuzi he died under a waterfall, which was stupid. But and what Lamu, who is it? Who did she resurrect? She didn't. Was it Lamu that she resurrected? Yeah, I think Lamu was resurrected by Lama, who was left for dead. But there are different people who were resurrected, so they had a deeper level of science. It's kind of like in Star Trek, when they travel back to Earth during the one where they had to get the humpback whale. The understanding of health, scientific health, was a higher level. So when Enki and Enlil was in the garden with Adapa and Titi, Enlil wanted to kick him out of the garden because he didn't want man to know their science, and that's why they had to get out in the tree of life. And then the Sumerians have this tree with these acorns on it, looking things, which is their tree of life. So it's a science. Alchemy is the predecessor to biology, to chemistry, to all the sciences. So is the philosopher's stone what they're talking about in the Sumerian story for immortality, for the Garden of Eden, for Gilgamesh and finding the plant? Because maybe the reason why Gilgamesh didn't consume the plant immediately is because he had to take the plant home and take it through a process in order for the plant to grant him a regeneration, a specter of immortality. Because we don't have the whole story, but maybe that's why he was trying to take it back. Ponce de Leon just thought he would find a fountain and drink from the fountain and you become young again. Merlin, the stories of Merlin is he was practicing alchemy in order to try to find this. The Circle of the Golden Dawn, if you've ever read about Aleister Crowley and the Golden Dawn, they were, one of the big things for them was trying to create the Philosopher's Stone. John Dees was trying to create the Philosopher's Stone, was hired by the royal court to create the Philosopher's Stone. Go research the Count Saint Germain. They believe he created the Philosopher's Stone. So the secret, the best, other than the science that we're developing today, if you look at it purely from the ancients, the Philosopher's Stone would be your source for immortality. It would be the secret. Now, and today's society, a little bit different. I do believe that within the next, I'm going to give them 50 years. Within the next 50 years, I'm being a futurist now. Now, don't get me wrong. From based on my experience in the government, I believe that technology already exists to take your consciousness and place it in a simulated universe, kind of like the little I don't know if y'all watch this little TV show called Upload, but Upload, when you die, you have a choice. You don't even have to wait till you're dead, but they can upload your body into the metaverse, right? And you exist there. This is one reason why people are buying real estate in the metaverse. But today, and people are doing that today because they're betting on people being to upload their consciousness into basically the internet, into the metaverse, and you will live there. You can live there forever, as long as somebody's paying for it. That was the premise of the upload thing. Somebody had to pay for it. I would not doubt if that can be accomplished today. But also in that Upload TV show, I forgot what it was on. They also showed at the end of the second season successfully being able to download you back into a body, a cloned body. So do I think that they also, within the next 50 years, will announce that you can now be transferred into a cloned body? As long as they get to you before a certain time frame, before you go completely brain dead, they'll be able to upload your consciousness, your mind, into another body. And that would be our form of immortality. And what movie was that? And there was also, they showed that in that movie, The Sixth Day, with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And like you look behind the ear, you can see how they had like dots for if this was your first time, you had 1 dot, second time 2 dots, and so on and so forth. And they will clone your body and they will move you into another body. Or the med beds. I think the med beds they already got them, as far as I'm concerned. And I have some pretty decently reliable source that they already have med beds. And if you watch the movie Elysium demonstrated what the med beds are. When it just scans your body, it can reconstruct your genome, reconstruct your body. What dude has like half his face blown off and it reconstructed him. But it also keeps you alive forever because it's constantly getting rid of anything that could kill you in your body. It just reconfigures your DNA. So I do think within the next 50 years, one, if not all of those things will be available, and you'll be able to basically, if you can afford it, live forever. I plan on being here for it. I also think scientifically we should be able to, with biometrics, your body should be able to live to about 200 or so. Hold on, y'all, even though I'm not open yet. Yeah, we know it's not open till noon.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're all right.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm just doing a little live podcast right now. But
Oh, I apologize.
No, go ahead. So we do a daily deal. This is your first time here, right?
First time, yeah.
We do a daily deal where you pick up 4 cigars, your least expensive on house. So buy 3, get 1 free. Okay. Except for those black and yellow LCA boxes.
Okay. I'm looking for CarSpa.
Right now, I don't have any curtains. I'm waiting on them to come in.
Okay. Why was they there specifically for that? You wouldn't have one leader today.
Well, I'm sorry. I do have this one Gurkha. I do have this one.
Is that a Gurkha?
Yes, sir.
Hey, can you lock the door, please?
Yeah, this one is the one that they infused with blue 13.
How much is this?
15,
15,
50.
1550?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you lock the car, please?
Wait, I want to grab a couple.
We do a deal where you buy 3, you get 1 free, except for the black and yellow LCA boxes. So how'd you guys find out about me?
Sorry.
Oh, okay. Sign works.
You don't want anything?
It'll be 1643.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna add a couple one second.
Okay. Can you close that door for me? The human door?
Yes.
Thank you. Of course, I was gonna let him in. I'm not gonna say no to the money. Did you know Elon is Yahweh's father? Oh, Elion is Yahweh's father, and Yahweh is only the God of the. I remember reading something. I remember studying something like that a while back, like a decade ago. So refresh my memory, behaving. But I did remember reading something like that about Elion. Right. Yeah, because in the old back in the day, all these deities they have parents. In the book of Thoth, he does that every 25 years or so. Right, and that's just like how he does it in the Emerald Tablet. Are you talking about the Emerald Tablets? Because the Emerald Tablet says that as well. That others are now talking about the Anunnaki. Are the Anunnaki and Inky mythology as well? To a certain degree, they are mythology, but they also could, more than likely, in my opinion, they are a previous civilization to the Younger Dryas period. So we talked about that a couple days ago. They're Earthlings. They just were different. Yep, the rookies, they don't be closing the humidor behind them. I don't know these jokers, so I'm actually watching them through the camera. And you be sliding stuff in people's pockets. Plato, that's probably when I read about it, because I studied Plato for a while, some decades ago. Another?
This will be one of them. So one is free if I buy 4.
It's usually one person, one purchase.
Me. I'm buying all.
Okay.
I'm buying all 4.
All right, yeah. So whichever one is the least expensive would be the one that's on the house. So we got GTO, Team Maduro, Oscar. Which one? Put your glasses on, kind. Smasher. And so So 660 is the one that's on the house. The least expensive one is the one that's on the house. It's going to be $42.67. Ooh, I don't think I have change.
You may have a card too.
Hold on. That's it. I got you.
Nice place. How long you been here?
2 years. 40. Take all my change.
You want me to use my card?
No, I've already processed it, so it's all right.
Okay.
Are we allowed to bring alcohol here?
You work for the Gap Town?
That means
Stay
yes.
indoors?
Just keep it level.
You should come over here. Watch a game or something?
Yeah.
Have a cigar?
Yeah.
Have a scotch? You guys get busy already?
It depends on the day.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
All right, 57.
Just.
Thank you. Just send somebody to get change for you later on. We get your bag. Yes, sir. Yep. We watched yesterday. We was watching Frisbee football, the World Championship.
Sounds like fun.
Actually, it did turn out to be interesting.
Oh yeah.
Yep. We watched a little bit of everything. On Friday nights we do movie night. Usually we do it outside. We project it on the wall out there.
Oh wow.
So it'll be in here tonight. We're watching Rush Hour.
Awesome.
Oh.
You sit in. We it's a traditional lounge, so we just sit around
Yeah, I see.
talking trash.
Talk. Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Looks good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate you guys. Seven minutes. I'll leave it unlocked. Are you watching them too? Yeah. When I don't know you, I watch you when you're in the lounge. You're in my humidor. There are people who steal cigars. Let's see, the Anunnaki. Some people will say that we are the Anunnaki, as we had discussed the other day. According to the Anunnaki story, they began to experiment with a different hominid on the planet that was evolving, and and we became that hominid with Anunnaki DNA infused into ours. And science has found that within our DNA there are certain DNA strands that looks artificially infused. So that's why I say it's somewhat myth, somewhat not. Deemed as deities and gods and stuff like that. No, just beings with higher technology, but more than likely not from another planet, but from this planet. And the Igigi were, now when you're looking at between the Anunnaki and the Igigi, depending upon who you're reading, sometimes the Igigi are the higher and the Anunnaki are the lower, and they switch places. But most of the time, the Anunnaki are the higher, but they're still of the same grouping. So it's possible that the Igigi were just another species that existed during the same time as the Anunnaki did on Earth. And as we fight wars, they fought wars too. It was about the first blood sacrifice pertaining to cannibalism and truth. Yeah, that is part of the Genesis story, is about the first blood sacrifice. According to their story, we're not a Gigi, we're more Anunnaki. Anunnaki blood, according to the Sumerian story, it was the Anunnaki who infused their DNA into our ancestors, not the Gigi. So we would be more akin to the Anunnaki than the Gigi. When the Most High gave the nation their inheritance. Okay, so Deuteronomy 32:8-9 gave the nations their inheritance. When he divided all mankind, he set up boundaries for the people according to the number of their sons of Israel. For the Lord partition his people, Jacob has his allotted inheritance. Yahweh has a portion of earth. And the interesting thing about that, DeHaven, is that sounds exactly like how at a certain point Anu decided that instead of just having one ruler of earth, that he would split up earth amongst all the royalties of the Anunnaki. And like Elnana, because she was supposed to be married to Dumuzi, so Dumuzi would have got a portion, but since he didn't, she got the Indus Valley and became Ishtar. Marduk got Kemet and he became Ra. Enki became Thoth, and he was able to just traveled around and was named a whole bunch of things. Thoth, Quetzalcoatl, a whole bunch of names. Enlil got the Levant. So different Anunnaki went and created and went and became the gods of different societies all over the earth. Now, when the Hebrew people wrote it, they just put it as Yahweh gets all of earth. Enlil gets all of earth, which even though Anu gave all these different portions of earth to different deities to run those areas, Enlil being the heir to the throne would still be like the dude over earth. Even, after Anu dies, he's still the guy over earth. No, so yeah. So not exactly the same, but enough similarity that if you're reading if you know an old story, but you're making it your own story, and during the time frame of during and after the Babylonian captivity, when Hezekiah, who was running the kingdom of Judah, was editing and putting all of this stuff together, he would not have had all the other deities, but then just make it all one Yahweh, because that's when he was like, we will no longer worship Baal, we will only worship Jehovah, Yahweh, the storm god. And he got rid of his wife Asherah and turned her into just a pole, because prior to that they worshiped Yahweh and Asherah, his wife. That's why the ancient temples, they got Yahweh's pole and they got Asherah's pole for the altars for both of them. Flesh is and was that forbidden fruit. I don't know. I don't think flesh was the forbidden fruit. The knowledge of good and evil projected out as a fruit. I think that the way the theme is written, the way the theme of the Bible, and this is all I'm talking about, the theme of the Bible. The theme of the Bible seems like the forbidden, the thing of evil is civilization. And just hear me out. When you look at a lot of the negative people of the Bible, they all live in cities. When you look at the so-called good people, they all live out in the country. Now, we're talking about the people who wrote this book who were, I was about to call them vagabonds, not vagabonds. The people who just travel around all the time with their herds and all that kind of stuff. Not hunter-gatherer, but they lived out in the countryside. They were country folk. And we still do this today. Good, simple country folk, which Yahweh Enlil wanted to keep man simple. Simple. You're in the garden, you're in an enclosure, you're separated from any and everything else. Simple. Yeah, nomads. Thank you. Right. So once they knew good and evil, civilization, they now had to get kicked out, and they lived out on the land. Cain kills Abel. They still decent. This deity is still with them, but they got kicked out because they couldn't be around the tree of life. But they still were out by themselves, But then Cain kills Abel. There was no reason that he had to leave his mother and father at that time frame. He was worried about somebody else coming to hurt him. Well, just stay with your mother and father out in the country. But Cain kills Abel, goes out, and he builds a city, which is ludicrous if you think about they supposed to be the only people there. But he goes out and builds a city. And then that's where all the turmoil starts happening. That's where you get the other dude, was it Tubal-Cain later on, and all these other ones who are started doing polygamy, which I'm not saying polygamy is wrong. I mean, you like polygamy, do polygamy. I'm actually for polygamy. So, but they start doing all these, evil happens in the city. Abraham has to be separated from the city of Ur. He has to go live in the country. Nimrod is a great builder of cities, and then even though he's just a great hunter, he's looked upon as a negative, you know, and they make him into a Nephilim and all this kind of stuff. It's always pulling somebody who's good out into the country. You know, Isaac stays out in the country. Although Joseph initially goes into the city, into Egypt, Kemet, he then the people have to leave out. Moses was in the city, that's when he murdered somebody, but then he has to go out into the countryside. It's always this theme of the city is where the evil is. Sodom and Gomorrah, the evil is in the city, but you know, as long as Lot and Abraham was out chilling in the countryside, it was fine. They were good God-fearing folk. But then Lot goes into the city. Sodom and Gomorrah has to be destroyed. So there seems to be a theme in this book that evil is in the city, good is out in the country. And in order to, you have to live a simple life. You have to live off the land, and then you're God's people. But when you live in cities, and if you think about when this was being written, this is during a time frame where the great kingdoms were based on city-states. They weren't based on nations that composed of both. It was mainly city-states. The city-state of Babylon was the ruling group of the Levant at that time. Kemet became the ruling group, whether it was out of Memphis or out of modern day Cairo, wherever. It was the city-states that ruled everything. That's where the evil was. So it seems to be this push away from civilization, that is where evil is. And as far as flesh being the forbidden fruit, if you look at it from the Anunnaki story, flesh could be the forbidden fruit because it was Enlil noticing that TT was pregnant and man was not supposed to be able to reproduce, but in order to get the higher being of man that Enki was searching for, man had to be able to reproduce himself. Enlil didn't want him to. TT was pregnant. Because he said if man is able to reproduce, then he would come into knowledge of self and then may revolt against the Anunnaki. You say you wish you lived in the country. I cannot live in the country. Where do people come from? I actually give more credit to the Sumerian story as far as who we are. There's the theory of the common ancestor, and that common ancestor split off, and from the split off, you get chimpanzees, gorillas, and then us, and there's another monkey that you get out of it, but you get those. We are not, chimpanzees today are the modern day evolution from that ancestor, which is where Lucy comes from. But we are a split off from some hominid. And like I said, I wouldn't really go for that theory too much, if not for the fact that they have found that there is an infused DNA. We have foreign DNA infused into our bodies. Somebody had to do it. Somebody of a higher technology. I had a sunburn right here. Somebody of a higher technology had to do that infusion of whatever our ancestor was back in the day. Where that ancestor comes from, I don't know. I don't think we were poofed into existence, though. I don't think some deity say, "Ooh, let me take some clay." Man, no. Have you ever studied the Fountain of Youth? Not really. Just grade school level on the Fountain of Youth. I know Ponce de Leon was looking for it. A few other people looking for it. Throughout history, there was one point where they thought it was in Asia, then another point they thought it was in India in the South Pacific, then they thought it was in the Americas. Every time they find some new land, they think it's somewhere. They thought it was in Africa. You know, they always looking for it. There's always somebody looking for it. I will soon start the process of trying to create a philosopher's stone. Because that publication that I was telling y'all about earlier, I do have a copy of it. So I got to read it first, of course. And I probably read it about 3 times before I begin my attempts. because I want to minimize how many times I mess it up. And when I do it, I'm not just gonna do one. I'm gonna do a bunch of it. Most people, if they wanted to do this at the same time, most people would disagree, would not be able to stomach what you got to do. You're gonna have some problems. As soon as I tell you what the primary ingredient is, you'll be like, oh hell no. And the process stink. It's gonna stink up your house when you're doing it, when you're taking it through the boiling processes. Oh, what I was saying about it froze on YouTube. I was saying that the evolution theory has it that we have a common ancestor, common hominid ancestor. That ancestors at some point split off into some kind of monkey, chimpanzee. I'm drawing lines like you said. It's that common ancestor split off to some kind of monkey. I forgot. Chimpanzees, gorillas, and then Homo sapiens. That's the evolution theory. Right? But there is something, scientists have shown that there is part of our DNA that has artificially infused DNA in it. So that could be what creates the split for us. So even though we are 93, 98% similar to a chimpanzee, that 7% or 2%, that additional DNA strand, portion of the DNA strand put in there, made us into who we are. And the Sumerian story, all the scientists really did was validate the Sumerian story of Anu, Enki, Enlil, and Ninhursag in the Apsu saying, let us make man, and infusing their DNA. Now it took them 16 tries, and they created a lot of them. Oh, you was talking about another topic? Where the people come? What were we talking about? Or was it for me at all? So that's what I was saying on that one. Yeah, if something skips or freezes, y'all let me know. Remember where it skipped or frozen, let me know if it's on yours. It's funny, sir, that you said that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all. My man Raquel, which makes me think that you already know. Am I saying it right? Is Raquel? Make me think you already know the primary ingredient for the Philosopher's Stone based on your last statement, sir. I think he already knows, y'all. He already knows. So he said, do you think that we should start looking inside ourselves for the Philosopher's Stone? Now, the safe thing, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to imperatively say yes, because my experiments requires something inside yourself. Now, most people are going to think that this is something mystical, spiritual, meditative, and all that. But no, it's not. It's something physical. If you're going to create a Philosopher's Stone, then you have to have physical properties. And I already said it requires boiling, filtering, cooling, sitting for a minute, boiling, filtering, cooling, boiling, filtering, cooling. Could take 3 months, could take 6 months, could take 3 years. So what is that primary ingredient to create the Philosopher's Stone, according to what some people claim they achieved? And then certain names of organizations are going to make sense. Because there's another organization. So there's a I've been following you for a while. I should know something. So when you're creating the Philosopher's Stone, there's a couple of colors that the stone is going to turn into when you first start getting a stone, and you still have to take it through processes. It's going to be black, it's going to be red, and you're finally trying to get it to where it's white. All right. There was an organization called the White Brotherhood. Now that White Brotherhood, the guy who started it, he's a little, I wouldn't necessarily follow the White Brotherhood. And it's not about white as in how we define race. That's why I say Caucasians. It's because the finality of the stone is white. And there's the Golden Dawn, the Golden Circle. There's a bunch of Goldens organizations out there that was supposed to be high society. Because the primary ingredient that is utilized, and pretty much the only ingredient, but there's a few things that you utilize in order to create the Philosopher's Stone, according to legend and according to the Emerald Tablets and according to this publication that I believe the government shut down. The primary ingredient is urine. The Golden Dawn is urine. How many of y'all want to create a Philosopher's Stone? And at some point during this process, the stone, not the urine, the stone, because the urine will be gone, the stone must be consumed in order to regenerate your body. Now, before y'all say something, I know some of y'all are already typing. Before you say something, understand this. First, you have to cleanse your body. Eat, you gotta clean your body, eat certain, get your body clean. Flush out all the negative meats and all that shit. Get his body as pure as you possibly can. This is why a lot of people fail at it. When I was following this blog post, a lot of people failed at it because they were consuming so much trash. Right? Your kidneys are a natural filtration system. It naturally filters out negative crap. That's what your urine is. But let me give you an example of how urine was life-saving. Oh, I never plugged this microphone in. How urine was life-saving. I remember, YouTube, let me know if this is still, that volume is better. Or was the previous better? There was a story. It wasn't a story. It happened. There was an earthquake in Egypt, in Cairo. This family was trapped in the building. They were trapped in this building for like a week. There was a Muslim family. Now, it is against Islam to drink your own urine. That's a sin. But they trapped in this building with no food, no water for like a week. The son was drinking his own urine in order to stay alive. He was like, fuck that book, I'm staying alive. The rest of the family wouldn't do it because it was a sin. The rest of the family died. He survived. I'm just saying. I remember I think I was on ship. I think I was on one. I don't know if that was the first time I was on a Navy ship or the second time I was on a Navy ship when that happened. But I remember when it happened, and I remember reading that story. And there's look, it's water. And although it, depending upon your body, it may be horribly odorous. I would imagine after a while it became very in its odor to that guy. He could have started out clean as hell, but it became But there are properties in your body that are filtered and life-giving, and it's filtered out through your urine. But your urine got to have parts of that in it. So you'll boil it, it'll stink. You'll get to where, and sometimes you have to boil it down to where it's this, and you keep boiling and cooling, boiling, filtering, cooling till you get down to where it leaves, like it turns black, and then until it leaves a stone. And then once it leaves a stone, the stone may be red initially, and then you still have to do some other things to it, and the stone becomes white. And that is when you have your philosopher's stone. I haven't read the process yet, because when I was following the message board, even though I downloaded the process, I was never in a situation at that time frame to be able to do it. You know, I was living in my popcorn shop. I lived in my popcorn shop for 6 years. And then other than that, the people I had that was living in the house with me, it would have been too much of a headache. So I didn't do it. Now I don't care. Well, now I can. So Iman says off topic, but he truly needs a lawyer. So if there's a lawyer in the house, Iman needs a lawyer. What kind of lawyer though? Because, you know, like doctors, lawyers often specialize. But yeah, there's as far as what kind of filters, I don't know. I haven't read it yet. I don't know if it's cheesecloth or something like that. When am I going to get started on stone? More than likely within the next 3 months. I'm going to the paperwork, the pamphlet is 255 pages. I have to read the whole pamphlet before I start the process. I don't want to like read and do. I want to read all of it. You know, it's just the way I was taught in school as a kid. Read all the instructions first before you start the process. And that became an indelible mark on me in the 6th grade. It was a math class, and there were 10 instructions, and the teacher was like, read all you're taking this test. It was first day of school. And the first, number one, read all the instructions first was number one. Number two had like, put a circle at the top right corner. And it had all the instructions. You get to number 9. And number 10. Number 10 was, and it was 20 things, because the other things was on the back. And number 20 was, don't write anything on the paper. So the only people who passed the test were the ones who read all the instructions first, which was don't write anything on the paper. And I was the only one who passed that test. So from that moment on, I've always read the instructions. I read all the instructions first. Except for like, if I'm putting something together, I'm looking at it, I'm like, hell, I don't need those instructions. I do this myself. Defamation of character, violations of right, pain, and suffering pertaining to finances. So Iman needs a lawyer who deals with defamation of character, violation of rights, pain and suffering pertaining to finances. I have to go through my Rolodex in my brain to see if most of the lawyers I know personally are contract lawyers. And yeah, most of them are contract lawyers. They deal with, or business lawyers. I don't know any personally who deal with those sorts of things. But if anybody else does, let me know. Let us know right now so we can help Iman out. But yeah, so I will probably start within the next 3 months. And I'm pretty sure if Angelina's listening right now, she's probably going to be like, oh, hell. But the good thing about it, I have this air purifier. I have this air purifier system at my house where I can turn that thing on for an hour, for 30 minutes to an hour, and it will clean out all smells of the house. Like, that's the only way I can smoke. Sometimes you might see some videos where I'm in my house doing a video and I got a cigar. That's because I do it in the morning, turn that thing on when I leave. By the time she gets home, it's not clean the whole house out. So, and it'll clean the whole house. All, not being, it's not a big deal, but all 3 floors of the house will be clean. The air will be clean as all get out. actually, um, which is amazing me that it cleans all 3 floors. You put it on the main floor and it'll clean all 3 floors. You know, and it's a water purification machine. It uses water to purify the air, water and suction, and it'll clean the air, and it'll clean particles and everything. So by doing that, I think having that machine and you know, being in the house at home with someone, because I think the other times I thought it would have been unfair to be doing that, and I got other people in the house and the house smelling like hell on a stick. So, but within the next 3 months, I'm going to start reading the pamphlet today. And making sure I understand and see. When I read it, I might have to look up something. Well, then read some more and look up something. So it might take me a minute to read it. But yeah, we're gonna. And the other part is the collection. The best time I do know some of it. The best time to collect the material is first thing in the morning, and I'm going to collect like 10, 15 jars of it, because I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, okay, I know the first time I do it, it's going to come out right. No, I'm going to have multiple jars going. They will be stored in different places of my house, because they have to be stored where the house can maintain a certain temperature. And since I got 3 floors, you know, I got to see which area of the house holds that temperature and moisture the best. So, well, it's mainly temperature, and I think light also has something to do with it, because I skimmed through a lot of it. So, and I remember seeing things about that. So I got to see where. You mentioned something. Whatever, Angie. Whatever. Oh yeah, little plug. Make sure y'all go to Angie's page. Really Did You Know? Really Did You Know? She makes some pretty cool videos. She makes some really cool videos about things that colloquialism and traditions that we have, and they have some weird ass origins. So go to Really Did You Know on whatever social media platform you're listening to me right now. But yes, be horrified. But if I can turn base metals into gold, you won't be horrified then. You'll be like, oh, baby. That's what you'll be. Oh, baby. You mentioned something about the white brotherhood. Yeah, there was first thing in the morning. Yeah, that's supposed to be the best one because it's purified. But then the other reason is going to take me probably 3 months, because I don't eat a lot of meat right now, but I will have to go, I'm going to have to read it to see how long I need to go. No meat, organic, everything, the best sources of water I can get my hands on, no sodas, candy, clean my body, get it in optimal form to be able to do this. The Great White Brotherhood was supposedly, I forgot the guy's name, but it's this guy. He created an organization, said that he found the Philosopher's Stone, and all this sort of thing, and created, a new cult called the Great White Brotherhood. When you look it up, it's not the one that's in. If you Google it, you might come up with one that's in where the hell? It was in Europe somewhere. But there's the main guy that I've seen is some guy who's in Colorado, I think, somewhere in the United States. But the guy told some lies though about, oh yeah, I've been to Egypt and I did all this and did all that, and it turned out that he didn't. And then then he said he went there, astral travel. That's how he went there. And that he did all these things. But then when he got divorced, his wife came out and said that he lied to all y'all. What is that dude's name? And that's part of the problem with some people. Like, you start talking about the age of theosophy, and you get into what's that old girl name? Like Madame Blavatsky. Like, she was cool at first, but then she got all caught up into money. Alex Crowley was cool at first, then he got all caught up in the money when he, you know, and it's not just money; it's also fame. What was that damn thing? Because I came across it once. Is it the Ascendant Masters of the Great White Brotherhood? Let's see. No, I don't think that's it either. They keep coming up with Madame Blavatsky and this other dude, but that's not the one I was looking for. Maybe it's not called great. Let me take that word out. Nope, didn't change the damn thing. I'll have to find it. I know another source, but I would have to use the where it's written down at is at home. Shit, at one point I had went to their website. And they still operate. Is that it? Is it the Universal Great White Brotherhood? Is this it? Is this them peoples? But I wouldn't. I remember researching them, and I was like, yeah, nah, that's some old David Koresh bullshit, where they were just combining a bunch of stuff and. I don't know. I have to find that part. First thing in the morning, did you really know? Did you know really it's a body? It's oh. The Ascended Master of the Great White Brotherhood. Okay. Oh. I said that I was low level. Yeah, wait a minute. Let me. That's a conversation that you two are having. You're gonna be all right, Angelina. I take that thing and I start looking 30 again. You're gonna be like, okay, I go. Give me one. So when I said I was low level, I mean I was low level as far as like worldwide influence or being around the more wealthier and more influential Freemasons. As far as degrees, I'm not low level at all. But no, at the 32nd degree, which is the only one I can speak of, on your question, Marcus, there are no ritual sacrifices at the 32nd degree. At 32nd, and any degree below that, there are no ritual sacrifices. There's no what's the other thing people are always trying to say? There's no sexual ritual. There's no child ritual. There's no pissing on the cross or worshiping a head or none of those things. And I have that on good authority from other people of similar degrees from all across the country. No, well, I actually all across the world, because I have that on good authority from people who are in different ones around the world. But no, there's none of that. These are things that people, the uninitiated, just make up. People who've never been a part of, they heard somebody say it, or you have a disgruntled person and they go out and lash out and say all kinds of crazy things. Well, all kinds of things. They don't call them crazy. They just say all kinds of things. In the same way that the King of France and the Pope at the time frame of in 1000 CE, it was 1000 when they went against the Knights Templar. They just made up a bunch of stuff. Oh, they doing this and they doing that and they doing and they doing and they doing, and they weren't doing any of those things. But they made it up and people followed it because the authority said so. You know, same way we do now. If the government came out and was saying that we are shutting him down and imprisoning him because he's in the cigar lounge and he's having ritual sacrifices and killing babies and all that kind of stuff, most people are going to believe it. Don't have to have any evidence other than the government said so. Most people are going to believe it. So, of course, go back in time to where you had kings and popes. If the king and the pope and the priesthood and all the barons and everybody said this is what these people are doing, most people are going to believe it. Most people are anti-Masonic because of the anti-Masonic political party that ran for the presidency in the 1950s. And they used the same tactics that the Third Reich used. Oh, Germany, the reason why you're experiencing all your woes is because of the Jewish incursion into Germany. And people joined up. And it was only a few who were actually part of the party in comparison, but the few had the guns and the government. They ran such a great campaign against Masonry in the 1950s that in today's mindset, people look at it negatively without even knowing anything about it. You don't have to belong to any one religion. You just have to be. Now, you can't believe in a devil. You can't worship the devil, nor can you not believe in any higher conscious being. You don't have to believe in the Bible. You don't have to be Christian or Muslim or Jew or anything like that. You could be a Buddhist. You could be Hindu. You could be any other thing. You could be an alchemist. You can be a hermeticist. You know, just not an evolutionary. Well, just not an atheist, I should say. And you can't be a slave. I do think it's messed up that you have to be a man. I think that women should be able to be a Mason, but I ain't got that kind of power to change that. But yeah, there's a lot of the things that people believe about it, they're absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. And as soon as you get somebody who was going to come out and say something negative, they the first ones to jump on it. Because a lot of Christians who become Masons then get mad once they pass a certain degree and everything is not so Christian related. In America, Europe, Masonry is very Christian related because most of the people who reformed it out of England and most of the people still participating today are Christian. And so they use a lot. They use the Bible and a lot of Christian things. But if you go to a Masonic one that is in India, they are not using the Bible. They're using the Quran, or they're using the Bhagavad Gita or something like that. But then once you get to a certain point, you then, I'm not an Eastern Star, so I don't know a lot about the Eastern Stars other than the women. Yeah, they are considered Lady Masons in a sense. They just don't get the deeper mysteries. But from my understanding, when you cross a certain point, it kind of flips into more Islam. And that's when a lot of Christians get kind of pissy about it, because they wanted to stay Christianized. All right, Oklahoma. I've been to Oklahoma City. I don't think all Freemasons are bad. There are some good and bad Freemasons, like with anything. Yep. What are your thoughts on Albert Pike's book, Morals and Dogma? And have you read it? Actually, Morals and Dogma was required reading when I was coming up in Masonry. For the most part, I think Albert Pike was for his time frame, he was a very enlightened person for his time frame. And without being a Mason, there's a lot of things that Albert Pike talks about that you're only getting the surface of. You're not getting there. You have to know these Masonic things that you can only get in lodge in order to get into some of the deeper things that he was talking about. But him, like the Count of Monte Cristo, was trying to bring Masonry back into a more pure form of what it's supposed to be, devoid of a lot of the racist, religious, devoid of those things. I like the Count of Monte Cristo because he was trying to bring it back. Look, I know y'all, we restarted this thing in England. Some of y'all, but this thing is Kemetic, and we need to get back to the Kemetic understanding of the builders, not this British shit. But yeah, there's some good and bad people in everything. You got good pastors, you got bad pastors. You got good imams, bad imams. You got good politicians, very few, and bad politicians. Good police, bad police. Good parents, bad parents. So a little bit in everything. But and the Kemetic, from what I can gather from the Kemetic form of Masonry, it's a lot more alchemical as well. There's a lot more alchemy involved in it, and that is part of it. Like some of the things I can say, the primary, what any Mason should be able to say, that Masonry is about making good men better. Making good men better. That's an alchemical statement. Taking a good man and making him better. Not a bad man. Like if you've committed a bunch of felonies and all that kind of stuff, you're not supposed to become one. There are some lodges that will forgive you for it, but you're not supposed to be. If you've murdered someone, if you've injured a child, if you've done all these kind of things, you're not supposed to be one. You're not redeemable. You have to already be a good man of good standing, of good rapport. Otherwise, no. And I've seen some of them, they let everybody in. They let everybody in. And I've seen some of them, they were dysfunctional as hell. That's why I'm not active right now. And won't be for a long ass time. If ever at all, really. A lot of them are too slow for me. Like, y'all ain't doing business. All y'all want to do is stand on the street and help people and dress up. You ain't learning shit. You haven't learned beyond this point, and I'm bored with y'all. If I was in DC with my cousin, that'd be different. They own their knowledge base shit up there. But anyway, I know there's some people like, oh, I can't listen to him no more. He's a Mason. He's part of the Illuminati. I wish I could be a part of the Illuminati. Well, the Illuminati, I think, is cool because back to its original idea of bringing illumination, bringing knowledge, esoteric knowledge to the world, not having government hide information, not having science hide information or religion hide information, but allowing that information to flow. To me, the internet is the Illuminati because it's a place where information can flow freely, you know, for the most part. There is censorship on the internet. But to me, the idea that Adam Weishaupt came out with is great and would be great for the world. Yeah, they should be in good standing. But I love the idea of Adam Weishaupt's Illuminati to infiltrate all forms of government and society and bring forth knowledge to the people and elevate the consciousness of the people. Beautiful idea. What it has become in popular culture, secret organization who's secretly ruling the world, trying to just become richer and richer. And we were talking about Bohemian Grove, Bilderberg Group. I'm more in line to agree with you. But I ain't gonna lie to you. If I was wealthy enough or influential enough to join the Bohemian Grove, my happy ass would join it. I would join it. Just so that I can be a positive influence. Be like, nah, y'all don't need to do that. That'd be wrong. I know y'all thinking the greater good, but it's not. It's not the greater good. You're actually going to injure more people with that if we do that. And I do understand that sometimes things have to be done that appears negative to people in order to benefit the people. Right? But some of those organizations are, even though they won't say it directly, some of the things that they think are for the greater good actually promotes more Western supremacy over the world, which is not a good thing. Western culture is not the best culture. You know, a country that says it practices democracy continues to show that it doesn't actually practice democracy. A country that supposedly goes based on the preamble of the Constitution does not follow that at all. So I would join those groups, not to get in step in line with them, to walk lockstep with them, but to try to make them better. With the age of Aquarius and the instant access to information with the internet, do you think more people can obtain esoteric knowledge about the universe by themselves without joining a lodge? Hell yes. Which is why I'm not active in any lodge. Let me tell you. In the grand scheme of things of my life, I haven't been a Mason all that long when you really look at it. You know, I know these guys who have been Masons for 30, 40 years. And my level of esoteric knowledge is far beyond theirs. It's supposed to be very rare that somebody is recruited by a lodge. I was recruited. But I was recruited because the brother used to come into my shops and we used to talk. And we talk about all these esoteric things. And then one day he was like, hey, man, I know a group of brothers who we have this kind of conversation all the time. And as soon as he said it, I was like, you're a Mason. I already knew what he was. Because I had been approached by Masons since I was like 20. When did I get over there? I got to Germany in 93. So however old I was in 93 is when right, a lot of them don't study at all. But I got over to Germany. I got to Germany in 93. So however old I was in 93 is when I first started being approached. But I kept finding them to be lacking. It wasn't until, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, 10 years ago, that I actually found one that wasn't lacking. But they were still too slow for me. That was my biggest problem with them, too slow. Like, don't make me go as fast as the slowest person. can't do that. Yep. A lot of them are just in it for the show, for the style of it. You know, I ain't gonna lie. My motorcycle broke down on me outside of Memphis. Took about 5 minutes before somebody pulled up. Recognized I was a brother. Pulled up, helped the brother out, got me back on the road within like an hour. It does have its benefits. Yeah. Some of them don't study. A lot of them don't study. I'm gonna say a lot of them don't study. You know, they can regurgitate some stuff, but they ain't studied it. They didn't make it a part of their life, and that's a big part of it. You're not making it a part of your life, then what the hell are you doing it for? And you ask, like, with the internet, Marcus, do you know that you can go to a bookstore and get one of the primary books that we actually use and be able to still gain a lot of the information from just reading that book? And it's a book that most use over and over again, that most still don't even understand a lot of the esoteric things of that book. But you still got to go beyond that book. Now, there are some things that are explained in Lodge that is, you know, deeper, that the book don't mention. So you're not going to get everything, but you can get a lot. And you can also dismiss a whole bunch of the bullshit that some people say by looking at this. But it's a lot. Actually, one of these big head jokers who is a Mason is pulling up right now. Yeah, it does come in handy. But all right, I don't want to get censored by some Masons coming in. Oh, you're talking too much, and you're not talking all positive. Hey, fuck y'all. But what time is it? 12:49. Okay. So let me ask this dude. Hey, man. If you could live forever, would you live forever? Being healthy, though, like 30 years old. Don't age.
It's just me.
Sure, it's just you.
No, I'm saying I'm the only person that can do that.
Yeah.
Then no.
So you gotta have somebody with you.
Yes.
You gotta have a woman with you. What if she get on your nerves after about 2 centuries?
I would be constantly meeting new people, and everyone that I ever had any sort of emotional connection would die.
Yeah. All of it, everybody. That's in this one book, Casca. That was one of his problems, is that he kept having to leave his wives. Oh, I did look at Sandman, but it correlates to because what I was talking about originally, how the Garden of Eden shows how man lost his immortality by not having access to the tree of life. But you also got that with Gilgamesh when he lost the plant that would have gave him immortality, as well as others. And then we start talking about in alchemy, the Philosopher's Stone. As far as the Philosopher's Stone being able to provide, eternal life. I mean, you have to redo it every so often, but yeah.
It's complete.
What? This is for my brother, right?
Yes.
Oh shit. So Ghost makes ashtrays, cigar ashtrays. This one's for my brother because he's jealous of mine that has the gold wing on it. I know my brother doesn't watch none of these videos, but I'll take a picture of it and send it to him. Ghost on that bullshit. You know he'll choose eternal life. You can have more children. You can populate the earth.
And they would all die.
Yeah.
And I would continuously be upset and hurt, heartbroken.
Well, okay. So if you had the ability, though, to produce a Philosopher's Stone, you could ask them if they wanted to do it. And then they will be able to live with you. They'd be able to do it. They have a choice, and they can choose to stay or go.
It sounds great.
Think about in 100 years how much value my comic book collection will have.
Really?
You could start a coin collection today and hold it for like 500 years, and oh my damn.
really wouldn't matter. And that wouldn't even be one of the things that would be on my mind.
You'd be, I mean,
I could live forever.
come a little closer so they can hear you. You ain't got to be in view of video. I know you hate. I mean, you are.
I can live forever.
Right.
With the body and everything at 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But now I have the option to have people live with me.
Yeah, you can have some people live with you. If you do Philosopher's Stone style, you can have some people live with you. Fountain of Youth style,
Then yes.
then you do it.
Yes.
But not by yourself.
No.
Yeah, that episode of Sandman was good with old dude who was living forever.
Mm-hmm.
That motherfucker said that he was trapped underwater for like 40 years. I was like, God,
that's what I'm thinking. That's where this whole thing came from. Like,
partly, actually, I was already planning on doing this video at some point. But then when I saw Sandman last night, I was like, oh, shit. So ghosts would live forever. Would it just be like your family, or would you like share it with your brother?
oh no, you dying.
Y'all hear that bullshit? I gotta die. His milk dud ass get to live.
No, I wouldn't do that to you.
I'm gonna create a Philosopher's Stone. I got the process. You wanna do it? Yeah, he said sure until I tell him how you gotta do it. As soon as he come out the humidor, I'm gonna tell him how to do it. We're gonna see. Matter of fact, does any of you guys want to participate in creating the Philosopher's Stone? Does anybody here want to participate in creating the Philosopher's Stone? That's the question. Yep, that's the question. Because I don't want to do it by myself, because you may be successful where I fail, and then I can learn from, like, okay, so what were, like my guy Raquel is in Oklahoma. Maybe Oklahoma's environment provides a better option for it. Thank you, Raquel. Raquel's going to do it. So maybe Oklahoma provide a better option for us to do it. What other requirement? Did you not hear me say it earlier, Papa? No, because I do want you to understand the primary ingredient that you're using, that you're going to be boiling and filtering and boiling and filtering and boiling and filtering. Attorneys just turn you over into the is urine. Oh, so you're working, you're getting back for it. But you got to purify your body, and then you're in the morning, collect your urine, and then you're going to utilize that urine to boil, filter, boil down, filter, boil down, filter, boil down, filter. Alchemy, basic alchemy, until you get to it turns black, and then you get to and if you get a stone, then you might get a yellow stone or red, then it might be a red stone, and then you're trying to get it to where it's a white stone. When it's a white stone and everything is done right, it's the Philosopher's Stone. You can theoretically, that Philosopher's Stone is supposed to turn base metals into gold, and theoretically, when ingesting that stone, your body should regenerate to like a youthful age. Still want to do it? Want to do it, Papa? Want to do it? Want to do it, Debbie? $40 days. It could take 3 months. It could take 3 years, because there are certain conditions that it has to be at every stage. There are certain conditions that it needs to sit in, like certain temperatures and lights, all that sort of thing, in order to do it. What's he doing? Oh, he looks for more boxes to make ashtrays. So it could take, because when I was following this, like I said earlier, when I was following this message board, there was people who kept trying and failing, and some people have been trying for years. And then finally, some people start saying that they made it, it worked, and all this sort of thing. And as soon as they started saying that, a few people started saying that, because the message board was up for a while. But as soon as people start saying that, the site disappeared. It was gone. I'm Right after people said they achieved it, boom, sight gone. But some people had downloaded the pamphlet and they published the pamphlet. They put it on. Then, well, later on, the pamphlet appeared back. The pamphlet of how to do it appeared back on the internet, and it's the same pamphlet that was on there then, because I verified the two to make sure that they were the same. Hey, man, I gotta tell you how to create the philosopher's stone. You can go. The primary ingredient in creating the philosopher's stone is purifying your body so that you can use as much purified urine as possible. You're not drinking the urine, you're not drinking urine, but you have to boil it, filter it, boil it, filter it, boil it, filter it, boil it, filter it, until you get a stone. And then once you get the stone, theoretically the stone can turn base metals to gold, and theoretically eating the stone regenerates your body by ingesting the stone. Still want to do it?
You just said something about pee.
You didn't hear all the other part,
I heard it,
but you got stuck right there.
then you said something about pee.
That's just the base that you're starting with. You're not drinking urine.
Okay.
You keep manipulating it just like you would. Let me put it in terms that you understand more clearly, sir. You're taking the urine and you're getting rid of all the superfluidities until you have a perfect stone fit for the master's work.
Okay. I got it.
Does that sound better that way?
No. Instead of pee.
You gonna do it?
No.
But he gonna die. Come on, Papa Soul, you ain't gonna entertain it. Don't be like that joker right there. Papa Soul, don't be like him. Don't be like him. Entertain my foolishness, okay?
Yeah.
Entertain my foolishness. All right. See, let me tell y'all what's gonna happen. When it worked, I ain't gonna tell y'all. I'm gonna paint this gray just to keep y'all without. I'm sure they make a gray dye. I'm gonna paint this shit gray. He ain't worked. See, Renz on that bullshit. It been 3 years and he ain't worked. But I'm gonna be rich though. But I ain't gonna let y'all know. I'm like, damn, he shoot a lot of videos all over the world. What the hell going on? See, you can't let the government. Now here's the downside of it. If me and Raquel are successful, that means that ever so often we have to fake our own death or just disappear. You know, what was the guy who jumped out the airplane, supposedly stole some money, and he jumped out the airplane, they never found him. Oh, he's legendary. He robbed some people, jumped out the airplane somewhere in California, Oregon area, and they never found him. So he's like the bank robber's legend. He's like the Baba Yaga. Shit, what is his name? So, Papa, you said you've read that you can use your own clean and purified urine to drink and wash with. Well, the philosopher's stone, you got to make it into a stone. Now, like I did say earlier, when I was on ship in the Mediterranean, that earthquake in Egypt, this dude survived by drinking his own urine, and the rest of his family died. DB Cooper, thank you there. Cool breeze, DB Cooper. Yeah, you got to be like DB Cooper. After a while, you got to disappear. You got to change your name. You got to disappear for a while. Go to another country, become somebody new. Yeah, thank you, Debbie. Debbie said Cooper as well. Thank you. That's the only part. And if the government ever finds out, you know they're gonna try to mess with you. Are you a fan of Manly P. Hall's work? Yep. I got this, The Secret Teachings of All Ages book. I still haven't got a chance to read through it. I haven't read that book, but I've listened to it. So, and listening when you haven't read, you don't get it all. That's why I always tell people, if you're going to do an audio book, it's always better to read it first, then listen to it. So like now that we've gone through the Kabbalion, even though y'all listened to me about it, listen to me reading it, and we explained it, and I was explaining as I go, it's still to your benefit to read it again for yourself, especially when we get to Outwitting the Devil by Hill. I forgot his first name, but Hill. That one you want to read it and not just listen to the thing. Later. But yeah, Manly P. Hall. It's like Manly P. Hall and Albert Pike. They're like very similar to me. But we have. So you definitely got to read first. That's why we're gonna read. So read this instructions of how to create the Philosopher's Stone. And like I have a digital version, which is always on my laptop. It is always open. But it is called the Book of Aquarius. You got that, Raquel? The Book of Aquarius. You can find it. And when you find the right one, is going to be this angelic looking dude with a couple of horns on his head with, I forgot what astrological symbol that is above his head, but he's holding a caduceus in both hands. There's a sun on one side, the moon on the other side, and then there's two other beings trying to come at him. One has the caduceus that only has the one serpent, and the other one who looks like some animal headed dude, has like a stick with some kind of bird on it. So you want to make sure that's the one that you get for the Book of Aquarius. So 225 pages. So you have the Book of Aquarius with the dude standing there with two caduceuses, and whatever that symbol is above his head, that's a zodiac symbol or astrology symbol. It has a upside down crescent moon and an ankh looking thing. Yeah, it's an ankh with an upside down crescent moon or horns, which could have something to do with Hathor. And he got his ping all out. But the Book of Aquarius, who wrote it? Who is claiming authorship? Anonymous author, Global Gray eBooks. It was released in 2011. The time, the heat, the different methods using understanding the writing. But it's basically it's going to go through a whole bunch of understandings of things before it gets into how they actually do it, and then got a bunch of other information, authors by other stuff. Like I said, I've skimmed through it real quick. All of this can be found, like the instructions on how to do it can also be found in the Emerald tablets, but they're kind of, you got to read between the lines. It's a digital book. When the message board was out there, I downloaded the digital book. So it's not a book that I have in my hand. And I don't. So just Book of Aquarius. Yeah, we still good. I'm gonna put my email address in here and send me an email and I'll send you the copy. We're gonna get Ghost to do it. We're gonna get Ghost to do it. Get that Philosopher's Stone. Be like, one day I'm gonna be holding up this lighter, it's gonna be solid gold. Y'all gonna be like, oh shit, that's nice.
Really can't really yeah.
Sound like a personal problem.
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay. But I am going to get ready to get out of here for today. Today was grand. It was grand day. I appreciate everybody, and you know, we're gonna get that tree of life. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure out immortality, the fountain of youth, all that man has searched for. We are going to figure it out. It's gonna be the Count of Saint Germain and figure out this thing about immortality that seems to be written in ancient times as has always been something that has escaped the majority of mankind. But we're going to figure it out. We're going to do it naturally. The way that our society is moving, there'll be a synthetic way of immortality that is going to be costly. Only the rich people are going to be able to do it. When the med beds come out, only the rich people are going to be able to have access initially to the med beds. The cloning, only the rich people. The uploads, only the rich people are going to initially have access to this. But if it can be accomplished naturally without a med bed, without clonings and uploading, then I would rather do it naturally, because then it can be shared out to the people. Because I know one of the reasons why the government wouldn't want people to be able to do this, because if you can turn base metals into gold, and it was widely done, it would crash the world's economy. Because people be like, gold, gold, gold. You'd be Midas, And then if people are living forever, we already got population issues. And the main reason we got population issues really is because we eat flesh. We eat meat and fish, flesh, right? So the earth would be a much better place. It would be cleaner if everybody was vegetarian. We have a much better planet. It'd be a lot cleaner, because car emissions and brake dust and all that stuff is not the bigger cause of damaging the planet. It is what we need, what we do to the earth to eat meat, to eat flesh. Let me say flesh, because that includes all the animals in the sea. But it's what we have to, all the deforestation, all the methane, all the land that we use to feed the cattle so we can have a hamburger, all the dredging of the ocean floors, the killing of killing of dolphins and whales and sharks, and messing up the system of predators and prey. We fucking it all up just so we can eat them. We messing it up. But we ain't gonna do that. We know the world is far and away from that. It'll take a cataclysmic event for the earth, for people to get into that vein. And where would all these, that's a good question, Larry. Where would all these animals go? over time, okay, so if we all stop eating them, then farmers are going to stop, ranchers, I should say, are going to stop overly producing them. You know, we wouldn't have a need to have, this guy has 5,000 heads of cattle. He wouldn't have a need for it. It wouldn't be any monetary value for it, that person to have 5,000 heads of cattle. So initially, yeah, there's going to be an overpopulation of cattle, and then they will just die off naturally, and they won't reproduce as much. Animals. So when you go to like a open game area, like in Kenya or Namibia or somewhere like that, you have the right population of predators to prey, and you have the right population of prey to natural resources of food and water, of grass and water. So they're not out of, they maintain a balance of that. In the oceans, you have the right amount of sharks, and on down the line, you know, to prey food. And every, you know, you got, sharks don't have anything that hunts them. So, but they hunt these lower things, and these lower things, they are hunted and hunt. More of these things, they hunt and hunt. More of these things, they hunt and hunt. More of these things, they hunt and hunt. Over probably about a good 50 to 100 years, the earth animals will get back in balance with earth. So we wouldn't need them. And cows is something that would get down to almost extinction level, because what the hell are we gonna need them for? Because we shouldn't be drinking cow's milk. We're the only animal that go around drinking other folks' milk. We shouldn't be, so wouldn't happen as much. Their populations would decrease dramatically. No, humans don't need to eat meat. You can get enough protein from from your leafy greens and green vegetables to sustain your body. Actually, when you're eating meat, you're actually putting more protein in your body than you need. Your immune system is working extra overtime just in your gastric system, which doesn't give your immune system time to fix the other shit in your body or to maintain the health of the other things in your body. So your immune system is overworked and undermanned to keep you in a healthier state because we're eating so much meat. I mean, that the toxicity level of your colon, of most people's colon, you could kill a whole bunch of people if you extracted the toxicity and injected it into the bloodstream of most people. They would all die. One person could probably kill about 100,000 people with the level of toxicity they have in their body. So, yeah, there's absolutely no reason for us to eat meat other than it smells good and tastes good. That's it. Some of these religions would lose their shit, because you see when we're reading in Exodus, that sweet aroma. El Yahweh loves that sweet aroma for that burnt sacrifice. So, all those things become like, okay, why are we eating this shit? But yeah, it would take some time. We both immortal and mortal. Yeah, you'll be mortal and immortal. You can keep regenerating, but I mean, as long as you're not in any major accidents, you should be able to live. If you have that philosopher's stone, you should be able to live. Yeah, if we all ate fruits and vegetables and grains, and then we cleaned up and we allowed the atmosphere to be clean and all the food to be clean, your body would probably live about 200 years in good health. Your aging was slow down drastically. What's that lady in Florida? And when it started out, she was like, when the first time she hit the scene, she was like 70, but she looked like she was 30. I mean, if I created the stone of life, that it would be lonely without our family and friends was gone, and we were still here. Don't you think so? Yeah, to a certain degree.
Yeah, I told you.
You're gonna miss stuff. Nobody asked you. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna miss my kids, no doubt. I have some more. Get that vasectomy reversed.
Did I hear that?
Oh yeah, I get that
Just
vasectomy.
selfish.
I get that vasectomy reverse. I'll pop out me some new kids.
Get some new kids. Yeah.
I'm gonna love them just the same. But I know. Look, here's the thing. I know my kids. If I were to come and show my kids how to do this, and they see the results of it, my 3 would be like, hook it up. They would do the same. They would do it. My kids would do it. So I'm not gonna lose my kids. I know they'll do it. It'll be the yeah. Angelina, she up here talking about some she wouldn't do it. So hey, baby, I'm gonna have to move on now. Once you start getting all old and unsavory, nah, just kidding. I'll be with her till she died. There, I was like, all right, we'll find me a new chick. But as far as my kids would do it. I know them 3 jokers, they would do it. My brother wouldn't do it. My mother would do it. If I did it for my mother, she would actually do it. I know my mom would do it. My dad has already passed, so too late. My sister would do it. It actually, you know what? If I do it, there's a large portion of my family that's here in Atlanta, and it's about 70, 90 of us in here. Them jokers, a lot of them would do it. So I wouldn't be as lonely because a lot of my family members would do it. But I also reconcile the idea that everybody has their own option. Everybody can make their own choices. If you don't want to do it, okay, that's cool. I'll be with you until your life is over. But when it's over, I'm gone. I'm still enjoy mine. I would miss them, of course, but it's kind of like right now. I miss my grandmother tremendously. My mother was my first love. My grandmother was my second and biggest love. So I miss her. I hate that she didn't get to see my children. But as much as I miss her, my life has continued. I still find peace in that fact. And I will find peace in the fact that my family that I give an opportunity to, they have the option. But just like I miss my grandmother, I still live. I'm still doing my thing, you know. In the Garden of Eden, I believe Adam and Eve were the first vegetarians. Well, as far as that story is concerned, yeah, they were vegetarian. They were the first vegetarian. But the Sumerian story, Adapa and Titi, was it? No, is it Adamu or Titi? Adamu and Titi, or Adapa and Titi? One of them. They were vegetarians as well. Simeon Toko could regenerate. I know there was this one guy, he regenerated his spine. They told him he would never walk again. But through a process of meditating and rehabilitation, he regenerated his spine. Let me put that in my thing because I ain't gonna remember that name. Simeon Toko. Let me put this in a Google search. Otherwise, I know a name like that I won't remember. Simeon Toko, the immortal gene. Okay, I'll check him out. See, now you can't become famous though. What you do? What was that movie? Eternals. The one guy, he was the Indian guy. He kept saying he was a long line of generations of Indian movie stars. He would have to fake his death after a while. Then the grandson would be the next week. Then his son. They all look the same. Don't roll your eyes, Angelina. You'll be all right. Better eat that pea stone. Let me tell you, once I do it and she see the proof of it, she'll be like, okay, I think I will go ahead. What's the process again? What's the process? Oh, man. All right, for real. I gotta go. So I appreciate you guys. I will see you guys on, wait a minute, when's the 25th? Huh? See, that's why I'm punching in his throat. I know on the 25th, I got traffic court. So I'm not sure if I'm doing a video on the 25th. But it's not till 1 o'clock. So I might do it earlier. I still may be able to get it done. But I appreciate you guys. I will see you possibly Monday. There's no guarantees on Monday, but possibly Monday, definitely Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And y'all have a great day. I'll be making some other videos today and over the weekend. So y'all have a great day. Remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is not negotiable. Remember to go and follow Really Did You Know? Go and follow my In and Out to Legacy Business page. Follow and subscribe to this page. Share these pages because that's these videos because that's how we make it work. And the cigar lounge, now all the cigars that we have in inventory are available to purchase. So if you're a cigar smoker and you want to purchase the cigars that I smoke on here, you can go to the website at smokingphoenixcigars.com and purchase the cigars. So I look forward to it. Y'all have a great day. Remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. You know what, dude?